Good evening, assalamu alaikum, and a very warm welcome to Visionary Pulse with me, your host Farzana Mayet, a segment that focuses on chatting to game changers and change makers. And tonight is certainly no difference as we chat to one such game changer and change maker. We say a very good evening, assalamu alaikum, and a warm welcome to Yaseen Kretzen, who is a South African entrepreneur, business growth strategist, and investor with extensive experience across renewable energy, technology, financial services, logistics, and operations as well. Known for his ability to turn strategy into measurable results, he works with businesses to drive growth, improve efficiency, and create long-term value. As a co-founder of Energy Venture Capital and a passionate advocate for entrepreneurship, Yaseen combines commercial expertise with practical execution. His inspiring personal journey of overcoming addiction has also led him to actively support recovery initiatives, mentoring individuals, and helping them rebuild their lives. Through business and community impact, he remains committed to empowering others and creating meaningful change. Assalamu alaikum, Yaseen. Thank you so much for joining me on Visionary Pulse. It's an honor and a privilege to have you.
Good evening. The privilege is all mine. Thank you so much for having me.
So Yaseen, let's start right at the top. You've worked across multiple industries. What key lessons have remained consistent regardless of the sector?
Well, Farzana, that one is quite simple, right? You can have all the brains in the world, all the talent, all the school, but if you don't have grit to ride the challenges, you'll never make it. So
and I love what you said.
Yeah.
I just love what you said because, like you said, you can have everything handed to you on a silver platter, but if you don't have that drive, that determination, and that grit to go and achieve, it's all pointless.
Pointless. Consistency is key in everything, as you would know.
And I can see you very excited about everything that you do.
I have to be. As an entrepreneur, you got to be motivated by yourself to get up out of bed every day.
Absolutely, and I think you will agree with me. You've got to love what you do, right?
You have to love it. Even if you hate to love it, you got to love it.
Okay, so Yaseen, what inspired you to move from corporate roles into entrepreneurship and founding your own ventures eventually?
I was following the money. The more the money gets diluted, the less you have on the table.
I love your honesty.
Sorry, you know, I don't know if I'm going off script here, but yeah, I've worked for big corporates, obviously, in South Africa also that have changed the game. And when you look at what they did, it just took an idea, and somebody said, you know what, I'm gonna try and do this, and I figured, instead of waiting around for somebody to give it to me and waiting for
something to happen.
An inflation increase, I should just go out and get it myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like you said, bottomly, the underlining cause here is your grit, your drive, determination. That's
Correct.
It. Okay, so when you assess a business for growth, Yaseen, what are the first three things you look at? I think this is for the benefit of our viewers as well, that will want to derive inspiration from what you have achieved thus far.
I mean, so the first three things that I usually look at, just getting started is a big thing, right? So we all have ideas, but can you replicate and automate,
Okay.
right? I hated AI when it came out, but unfortunately it's here to stay. So with all the knowledge and information one has these days, can you replicate a small business now to become a big business? And how do you do that is, if you were doing, for example, 10 orders for something, or if you were dealing with 10 million rand, can you now do it at 100 million scale? So can you replicate it? And when you go to bed tonight, right, can the team take care of it without you? That's how you automate.
Okay.
Yes. So whatever it is, no matter how small it is, if you can automate it, right, even your show, for example. Yes, you are the star of the show, so you need to be here, but as long as your team can survive without you and all you need to do is sit on that couch, then we've got a winning recipe.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So strategy is very important.
Correct, ma'am.
Okay. So what separates businesses that scale successfully from those that remain stagnant, Yaseen?
Stubborn ones, the ones who refuse to adapt. When you refuse to adapt, we are under the fourth industrial revolution, or if you hold grudges. Business is business, it's not personal.
Absolutely.
Right?
And business.
You can get something at a more affordable supplier, but you don't like they must handle. And people who really drive with emotions tend to fail. They just got to look at it logically from a business perspective. And I think that is the recipe to success, being hard-headed, thick-skinned.
Absolutely. I do agree with you. You've got to be thick-skinned and you've got to focus on yourself, right?
Correct.
And how you can grow, not on the next person.
110%. And it's a selfish game, if we're being
Absolutely.
honest, right?
No.
The next person is not going to come and save you. It's
And
not
feel
like,
you're sorry somewhat.
correct. You gotta put yourself first, then your interests first.
So Yasin, having worked with organizations such as Amazon, Capitec, and Zipcar, what best practices have you adopted and applied to your own ventures?
Well, Capitec did something, and I always think about them. There was the big four banks, for example, and they literally put their best foot forward and said, we're going to change this. And they didn't give up, right? So the best practices that Capitec really had is they started building everything from scratch.
Okay.
Because they're not considered a traditional banking model, they're more of a fintech. So they innovated and they started everything from scratch, whether it be universal bankers or, and then it's the accountability part. You are responsible for what you are responsible for. They don't stick surprises on you. And those best practices, if everybody knows clear expectations and what they're accountable for, and if you have the courage to really go out and go against the grain in somewhat. I think
It's most important. I think you are right there. Okay, so what is the biggest challenge? That brings me to the next question. What is the biggest challenge you faced while helping establish energy venture capital, and how did you overcome it?
getting the
'Cause
funding.
there's a lot of challenges, right?
Yeah.
So now I need you to be blatantly honest here.
So getting the funding without the track record.
Okay.
In this country, when you get big business, specifically in South Africa, you need years of experience. You need almost like a CV for the business.
Right.
And asking an institutional funder to give you, because our first round of funding, we got 250 million worth of debt. So convincing them to give us, we were all
Money.
under the age of 40.
Okay.
And with no track record, but we had the idea, we had the knowledge. And that was...
So
that
they
was,
just had your drive, your grit to believe in.
Yes.
Is
So
that what you're saying?
Yeah. So what we did is we knocked on many investor doors, people with track record, and we asked them to sign surety for us.
Okay.
And there was 100 no's, and on the final one, he said yes.
So basically, and I think I'm loving what you're saying, Yaseen, and I love your blatant honesty, because people will try once, twice, thrice, and they'd stop and they'd say, no, I've got a no, I've got so many no's now, I'm just giving up. And you didn't.
Correct, ma'am. Yeah.
You carried on until you received the yes.
That's what we had to do, because that was the last right? We weren't getting salaries. We put all our life savings into it. It was the last thing. It had to work. We didn't have an option to go back or plan B.
Okay, so there was no plan B.
Plan B was to go back to the corporates we worked at and grovel and ask them to give our job
jobs
back.
yeah.
But I guess there was an element of pride, and we're like, it has to be now or never.
That's not happening.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so Yaseen, I've got to ask you now, as an entrepreneur, what opportunities do you see for entrepreneurs in South Africa over the next 5 years? Things are getting tougher. So what do you think?
Well, I think, it's such a broad question, and we can unpack it the whole day. I think, again, it goes back to the adaptability. Can we incorporate modern features, AI? Unfortunately, we've been conditioned now to only take information in bite sizes, 30-second reels, TikTok, Instagram.
Exactly, moving with the times.
Yeah, so we're a social thing. If we look at the next 5 years, our target market or the bigger consumer base will be Gen Zs. So whoever can tap into that content creation, that...
That's the way forward, right?
That real mentality, how we absorb information. And Unilever's a brilliant example. Unilever has done away with all adverts. They only do influencers now.
Are you serious?
110%. And that's how they've still captivated the market. And I feel like for any
Because they're
business...
moving with the trends. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so
Okay.
for any business, whoever can tap into that is going to win.
Okay. So in today's rapidly changing business environment, how important is operational excellence compared to innovation?
Yeah, operation excellence keeps cash flow, so it's quite important to be disciplined. As an entrepreneur, I'll say put away your ego.
Yeah.
You don't have to drive the G-Wagon always. Sometimes you can go for a Toyota Starlet, for example. And if you get that right, if you understand what's the end goal and what your broader dreams or goals as the business, and you find efficiencies and you can hold people accountable, I think it outweighs more innovation. Innovation mismanaged will still get you nowhere.
Absolutely agreed with you there. How do you build high-performing teams and create a culture of accountability and execution? I think accountability is very, very important, right?
Very, very important. You know that Japanese saying, if you get on the wrong train, get off immediately, because the longer you take to get off, the more expensive it is to become home. I think that's where I find myself when building teams. I really give people trial runs for a week or two, and if it's not working, I make the decision.
Okay, so already you make this decision and nip it in the bud before it goes on and on.
Correct, but then also as an entrepreneur, sometimes, and I think we forget our colleagues or our employees cannot read our minds, right?
Yes.
So you have to, whatever's in your mind, don't just keep it in your mind. So I have a whiteboard and I just write everything down.
Good.
And then we assign every Monday who needs to own what, and I think the expectation becomes clearer and nobody's sitting with anxiety. I always said company culture is how you feel on a Sunday night. You're right. So I always try and make sure that they don't have that anxiety coming in and stuff. I mean, the world is already tough as it is.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Now, bringing me to the next question. What advice would you give business owners who are struggling to increase revenue despite having a group product or service?
They're 2,000 calls away from being a millionaire, or 2,000 follow-ups away from being a millionaire. Our problem in today's world is we love validation. Unfortunately, it's encouraged by the social media culture. So we don't know how to handle rejection like the old.
But why is that, Yaseen? I've got to ask you. You've got to help me unpack this, because why has it become so difficult that youngsters of today do not want to hear that no? They'll try for the first time, and then after that it's no.
And then
whereas we would carry on and pursue until we receive that positive response.
I don't know. I wish I could give you the answer, but the way I see it is they're really scared, and I don't know if it boils down to the way we parent them these days, the way we teach them in the school. Yeah.
We have to give you everything on a silver platter, so don't worry.
Correct, and I just feel like the no's are not really a part of school. I know in specific school institutions, they call it you must redirect. You can't say no, you can't shout. So I really can't put my head on it, but I do know social media plays a big part in it. Likes play a big part, and that's why people...
And the amount of followers you have for some crazy reason.
Yeah, so, that, and that's the whole reason. If you're afraid of the no, you're never going to get to the yes. I mean, you can ask... Farzana, let's put it in context. There's about 8 million working people here, right? As a call center agent, for example, you can call up maybe, if you are a high performer, 300 people. That leaves you about 7,990,000. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. If you can call 2,000 people or email 2,000 people and even follow up, they say by the 7th follow-up is where you get the deal, right? If you can do that consistently, if it's not a hard no, chances are there's a yes there. And unfortunately, even Jordan Belfort from Wolf of Wall Street, he says there's no nobility in poverty, and his whole motto was you keep calling, you keep giving them something, right?
Yes.
So, and I think if we just really wrap our heads around that and absorb that, I mean, we don't fear the no, we don't fear the rejection, we will eventually get the yes.
I love that. That is brilliant. Now let's move on to something really touching now, and I think you need to elaborate on this one.
Yeah.
Your journey of overcoming addiction is quite remarkable. What was the turning point that changed the direction of your life?
I'm going to be blunt again.
Please be blunt and be honest for the benefit of our viewers. I love honesty, and I think that's what Visionary Pulse is all about. So, for any youngsters, the parents watching it, what...
Yeah, so this is a tough one for me. I was in and out of addiction for maybe a good 8 years of my life.
Okay.
It started off very social, and then I graduated.
Would you say it was peer pressure?
It's another fatherless child influenced by the crowd.
Okay.
It's that validation.
All right.
Yeah.
So I need to feel like I belong here.
Yes. I don't have that masculine support of some sort, right? So, so when we go into the crux of it, so eventually what had happened was I ended up really hooked on the worst stuff, so heroin. They call it nyaupe in these streets.
Okay.
And obviously crack cocaine, and I mean, I just made a bad decision. I leveraged at that time I leveraged what I had, and I borrowed money from the wrong people, obviously, to get high. Long story short, they kidnapped me.
My word.
They beat me up and they recorded this whole thing.
It was that bad.
Yeah, but that was the turning point in my life. I was like, enough is enough, but you know what? I was actually saved by that day by the miracle of God, and I made a commitment. The way I hustled to get high, the way I hustled, for the bad things, I'm going to do it for the good things, and I'm going to
You
channel
want
it
to channel that energy.
now into good, and
Right.
I've never looked back ever since.
My word, that is so inspiring. But I would think along the way, the journey got a bit tough where you felt, I need to give up. Obviously, you can't just go cold turkey. So how was that journey? When you decided to give up, did you just go cold
I
turkey?
went cold turkey. A made-up mind is something very hard to change. I went cold turkey. I endured the withdrawals. I reminded myself it was no more about me. I did have a kid. I had a kid very young as well,
Okay.
a son, and it was just no more about me. I just removed that whatever that pride or that toughness that I portrayed. I said no, enough is enough. And yeah, we never looked back.
That is absolutely remarkable. So how has your recovery journey shaped the way you lead, mentor, and support others today? Because that's a really touchy topic as well, and that's something close to your heart because you want to mentor people that were in similar situations or going down that road.
Yeah, so I'm not judgmental. Even if people are not going down that road, I understand that everybody's going through something, and I try my best to be empathetic to that cause. Men, in particular, can't take criticism. It's a very hard thing,
Okay.
So what we then do is, or I've adopted this new strategy. I do it gently, very gentle. I say, but you can do it this way, So I've rechanged my vocabulary. I have I stayed humble, and I've learned not to judge anybody. And coupling that, and I listen more. So when we add all of that together, it's easier to be a mentor when you're not coming from a place of a high horse. You're not on a pedestal.
You've experienced it.
Yeah. So, and I wish somebody was there to teach me it.
Yeah.
So always putting yourself in those shoes, remembering where you come from, it makes it very easier. And I have more tolerance to deal with people than the average person.
Oh, yeah, because you've been down the journey. But Yaseen, how do you recognize people that need that help? Like you say, men hate criticism. They hate being told that you need assistance. How do you then deduce that, look, this person needs help, and I'm going to step forward?
Yeah, so experience, number one, is a good teacher.
So you see the telltale signs already.
Yeah. So it's erratic behavior, it's denial, it's every one of us, I'm sure in our family, we've experienced somebody in this form, and it's very much like it goes back to the pride, erratic behavior, it's the denial, it's the always right. Sometimes people are functional, so you really notice it by the signs where you are unable to teach them anything.
They're not teachable. Right?
Yeah, so that's how we usually do it.
Okay, that is absolutely brilliant. But for our benefit of our viewers, Yaseen, what advice would you give parents that are still having kids that are on substances, are addicted to substances, they're getting the help for their kids, but it's just a downward spiral thereafter? Where I'm going to with this. It's not, they're not getting motivated enough. As an addict yourself, a past addict, what is your motivation for those parents?
So, where there's life, there's hope. You never can give up them, but tough love is very important.
Tough love.
Tough love is very important. You cannot be an enabler. You cannot, just greet them and say, enable their addiction. Whatever they want, they must get. You have to give them tough love. My mother gave me extremely tough love.
Okay.
To the point she even let me sleep on the street.
Really?
Yeah, 110%.
And as a mom myself, I could never ever think of myself. So she had to really, really make herself really, really strong.
Correct, and I'm grateful for it. In hindsight, she did the perfect thing. Today, I'm an emergency contact wherever we go. So,
Because we as moms, Yaseen, I'm talking as a mom myself. Never mind an addict or anything. Even shouting your kids seems like a bit too harsh,
Yes,
too
correct.
difficult. And then your mom went and even put you out in the street. I can't imagine how she must have slept that night.
Yeah, but I think she needed to do it. And yeah, the world of empathy for her. For a long time, and as an addict, we always blame everybody but ourselves, right?
Right. Okay. So
we are the
everyone's at
victim.
fault, right?
But I came to grow. I came to realize if I'm to blame her for my downfall, then I should be blaming her equally for my success.
Success,
right?
yes.
It can't be one-sided. We can't be hypocritical about it. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, just don't give up on your fair loved ones. Do the tough love. You can still pray for them, reach out to them, but I don't think you have to enable it. And you can always reach out to us. I'm always here to help.
Okay, so where can viewers reach out to you should they need assistance of some kind?
Yeah, so we run a restoration center in Magaliesburg called QRRC. Then we
Okay.
also have a homeless shelter in Krugersdorp. But every Wednesday in Bosmont, 8 Swartberg Avenue, we have a support group, right? So we're in
Okay.
touch with a lot of restoration rehab centers, and we can facilitate the whole process from the social worker to every Wednesday, 7 p.m. we have it. We also have once a month, every Thursday, same venue in Bosmont, 8 Swartberg Avenue, for parents, because parents also and family members, brothers
Yeah, I
and
was just going
sisters,
to ask,
yeah,
is there something for the parents and
yeah,
families?
they also need
Because
to
I can't
now.
imagine what they must be going through as well.
Yeah, because they also need to recover, right? Because they're not sleeping when their kids are not there. So the kids are not sleeping because of the substances.
Yes.
But they are not sleeping when their kids are not there, and they essentially become dry drunks because they have the same behaviors of the addict. However, they don't see it. So they also need a lot of healing. So we really facilitate the whole process. We reach out, we do house calls, we do house visits. If people don't have money, we sponsor as well.
Oh, that is brilliant to hear, Yaseen.
Yes, so it's not just about the
Absolutely
money. I
amazing.
know many rehab centers is about the money.
Yeah, and I think it's good that you're highlighting it on air because many of our viewers would think that, you know what, my child is addicted to substances, but I don't have the funds.
Correct. Even if I do it from my own pocket, I will do it. I think it's my mandate on a personal level to give back.
That is absolutely amazing, Yaseen. So when people look back at your legacy one day, what impact do you hope they will say Yaseen Kretzen made on businesses, communities, and people's lives?
This is a tough one. I don't know. I just think I want to be remembered for giving rites of passage to fellow entrepreneurs, to fellow people that have gone through such things as have I. I think when we think about legacy, right, Madiba really comes to my mind, and I'll tell you why. 5 generations down the line, they're still going to know him in his great
Absolutely,
family.
yes.
I couldn't tell you who my great-grandfather was, for example, without consulting my
Come to think of it, neither can I.
So when we define legacy, I really want to make an impact
And to
that
be
lasts.
remembered for years to come.
And to change the world. I mean, yes, money is a great thing to have as an entrepreneur, and once you reap the benefits, it makes life really comfortable. But to be transcended throughout the history books for noble acts, I
And
think.
bring about the change you wish to see in the world, right?
Correct. I think if that's more than enough for me.
That is so inspiring. So you've experienced both business success and personal adversity, Yaseen. If you could leave the audience with one principle for achieving lasting success and fulfillment, what would that be and why?
Victory loves preparation.
Okay.
You have to prepare to be victorious, right? Because
Okay.
let's say we're sitting here and we're saying, okay, if I get this deal come through, what's the plan if you get it?
Right.
If somebody calls you now and says, I have 2 million rand for you now, what's your plan with it? You have to be prepared. And I usually like to journal and write it down. You just be prepared for all scenarios. If you got the 2 million rand, if you lost the 2 million rand, be deliberate in what you're doing. Another thing is, if you're trying to focus on too many things, diluted energy gets you 0
Nowhere.
goals achieved.
Yeah.
So you gotta probably choose like 3 things, and then that one thing that has to be achieved. And harness the skills that you already have and the talents that you already have, and yeah, make it work for you.
Okay. And before you leave us now, what is the one motivational quote that gets you up every morning? I have to hear this.
I don't think there's one. Let me put my head to it. I think I've already said it previously with the victory loves preparation. But I think Vini Vidi Vici, is that Latin? I came, I saw, I conquered.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yaseen, thank you so much for joining me on Visionary Pulse. It has been an honor and a privilege having you on my show, and I hope we inspired so many of our viewers today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I mean, Farzana, like I said, if anybody needs help, be it entrepreneurship or, helping family members, I'm more than happy to reach out.
Okay,
They can
that's
catch
brilliant.
me.
So they can catch up with you.
Please, Yaseen Kretzen on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you
cool.
so much, Yaseen.
Thank you so much.
So that brings us to the end of another wonderful segment of Visionary Pulse. Join me, Farzana Mayet, next week as we chat to another game changer and change maker. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.